all your stream stuff. I feel like there's just like a few things you could edit, or a few font packs that you like. Oh, I can hear myself. Pre-league with Nimbus versus Tempest Esports. They're swapping up the sides a little bit. Murk Nimbus now on red, Tempest on blue. I am Leche, joined by my co-caster. How are you doing today?
How's it going? Excited to see this game too. Hopefully Tempest is able to come back after that kind of gruesome defeat. 21-minute victory for the side of Murk Nimbus, and we're seeing very similar bans coming out from both teams. The Set getting banned by Murk Nimbus, and Tempest going back to the Olaf, Senna, and maybe we'll see a Rek'Sai ban come out from them again, or Gragas, but the Ornn ban coming out from on red side from Murk Nimbus. They don't want Tempest to first pick it. And they're actually going to ban the Wukong themselves. They're not even going to pick it up, but Tempest is going to first pick Rek'Sai, that it was left open this time through draft.
Yeah, the first pick Rek'Sai is definitely showing what they're going to look for in this draft. Strong 2v2, so expect to see if that's not picked up here. Saving that mid pick for last, because when you pick Rek'Sai, that champ is so strong side being able to gank mid and bot. But the Elise return coming in from Murk Nimbus as a champion that is incredibly strong early game. We all know it. Elises are incredibly strong at shutting down the enemy jungler, so if this Rek'Sai can't get off his feet with his mid laner, this could be an issue.
I think this is a really dangerous pick coming from Murk Nimbus, because Tempest was like, all right, let's go for early game aggression, and they first pick the Rek'Sai, but Murk Nimbus kind of picks a counter pick in Elise, where Elise, although Rek'Sai is a very, heavy early game jungler, Elise is kind of that, but better. She's like the prime time early game jungler, where Rek'Sai is going to need to take some time to get to you by tunneling in, but a Ziggs getting locked in for Tempest. Will this be bot lane Ziggs? I almost imagine it should be, because we've seen more bot lane Ziggs recently than we have mid lane Ziggs.
We're gonna have to see how this turns out. Definitely, when I said strong mid two, Ziggs definitely a strong champion. Seen a lot in the recent meta. If you leave this guy alone in a lane, say goodbye to your turrets. And Ziggs Thresh is one of the bottom lane 2v2s, so this is a pretty strong flex. You guys have to be worried about your magic damage dispersion if you do put him down in the ADC role. Tempest definitely mixing things up a lot of times. After a team just gets absolutely destroyed, you realize that, hey, we need to mix something up this next game, right? You're tilted, you don't want to play Ornn again, that kind of thing. But Tempest definitely 3 unique champions to this series overall. That's what they're bringing to this table. Murk Nimbus picks up the Pyke again. A Furious Doctor likely going to be the one on that champion. He really showed off last game, just being all over the map, getting insane vision control. We're going to see if he can do that again.
And I'm interested to see this, because Pyke Ezreal is very different from Pyke Misfortune. Pyke Misfortune can pressure a lot more early than Pyke Ezreal can. Now that is dependent on what the matchup is. With this Ziggs Thresh, Ezreal is going to be able to sit back and poke. He's not going to be as under pressure as other AD carries would have been, because Ezreal has that extended range from his Qs. But they're just not going to have that all-in potential that they did have with Pyke Misfortune. But Mordekaiser and Malphite bans coming out from the side of Murk Nimbus are very interesting. These are probably more comfort bans to take away comfort picks from the side of Tempest, because you wouldn't normally see a Malphite ban or Malphite being played in most of these games, but the Trundle ban also coming out for Tempest is more of that standard jungler ban, and I wonder what they're going to ban last, and it is going to be the Vel'Koz coming out, which
they don't want to see that champion again.
I think that's a great ban for the side of Tempest. Get Boone on something else. You know he's a great Vel'Koz, and you don't want to give him that security, but they insta-lock the Victor after Vel'Koz is banned.
Yeah, normally what you're going to want to look for your first pick here on red side is you are going to look for something that is either a safe mid or top lane pick, so you can't really be counterpicked that hard. These are teams like Aatrox, or in this case, Victor is just able to wave clear until later on in the game, because you don't know if that Ziggs is going mid yet, and if they pick up this Pantheon, it can almost definitely be a Pantheon mid. That champ is able to have so much impact on the map, and it is, if he gets rolling. This is much different from the Yasuo. Pantheon's able to pick much earlier fights and use that ultimate to roam all around the map.
And this Pantheon Victor matchup is very heavily favored for Pantheon too, so it does give Pantheon that room to get ahead. Pantheon has a lot of chances to outplay Victor, as Victor takes a little bit to snowball and get items, but where you don't really see that damage up front immediately, and the fact that Pantheon can block a lot of that damage, if we're going to see this Pantheon in the mid lane, which it looks like we are, I feel like Tempest needs to focus a lot of their time and pressure into this Pantheon Victor matchup to really get this Pantheon snowballing.
Yeah, and that's why you first pick the Rek'Sai. You look for that Pantheon Rek'Sai as Nimbus picks up the Jace. Poke this Poppy out. This is an OG matchup. This feels like 2 seasons ago, and both these champions were much more relevant. A lot of this early game top power, it looks like, is what Murk Nimbus is going to be going for. Definitely these matchups top to bot feel very interesting, but I do have to agree, the junglers are who we have to keep our eyes on. Rek'Sai and Elise, and how they will impact their lanes, because if Rek'Sai can enable the Pantheon, the map pressure those two are going to be able to generate just by going bot or going top is absolutely immense.
And I'm really excited to see this Jace Poppy lane, considering we saw how prominent Murk Nimbus' top laner was on that Wukong last game, and how he kind of dominated the lane, a shadowy figure. He was just going off on that Wukong, and this Jace kind of counterpick to Poppy, although Poppy has a bit of counterplay where you can stop the Jace from queuing onto you and getting that melee damage onto you. If this, Jace is able to kind of poke Poppy out of lane and gain the CS advantage that he had last game, I think Murk Nimbus is in the side to really kind of shut this Poppy down topside.
Yeah, absolutely. As I do believe we're going to be going into break here, as we're coming out of the tournament champ select. You've seen this all. You have the confirmation on the rolls. It is going to be Poppy top, Rek'Sai Pantheon, Ziggs Thresh on blue side for Tempest, and Jace Elise, Victor Ezreal Pike on Murk Nimbus. Don't go anywhere. Don't close your browser. We will be right back for game 2. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Murk Nimbus versus Tempest Esports. Red and blue side, respectively. These two teams had pretty opposite ideas of coming into this game versus last game. Tempest were really just beaten down early and often by Murk Nimbus, but this game they're looking to come back as five-man stack might be looking for a late invade.
They might be going in. Let's see if they do try to pressure this. Ezreal is kind of backed off. At least they're not playing aggressive. And they are going in. Will Thresh be able to land this hook? And they seem to back off the second they see Ezreal.
Ezreal, I guess, gets the better out of that trade technically with the mana flow ban proc, but both teams, although only Murk Nimbus were playing 5-point, both teams pretty much didn't get any hard advantage, any deep vision into the enemy jungle like what happened last game. So both teams are going to be flying blind at the beginning, which might be rough for both this Elise and Rek'Sai. We're talking about champ select, how important it was going to be for them to be able to act early and often and get their laners ahead, because if this Victor is allowed just to scale into the late game, he is just a better champion than Pantheon. But if this Pantheon abuses him early, that is a champ we've seen can just take over games with just a serrated Dirk. He can make massive plays.
And I apologize for the little technical difficulty right there. I just had to switch over the scoreboard to show that Murk Nimbus is up one game. But I'm really looking forward to see if this Elise can get this game rolling for the side of Murk Nimbus and, take this 2-0 quick, easy win. As we said earlier, Tempest is 0-3. They really need this win. So if there is a win condition for them, I feel like it's going to come through this mid lane as we see Pyke already going in.
He's cut out. Raku Ichigo is so low, and the first blood's going to go over to Pyke as you'll get some more poke onto... Oh my god, Shadowy Figure forces out the Poppy Flash already. This matchup is not looking good. Drops is in the lane, and the Jace Flash as well. It's going to land the Cocoon and burst the damage down. Drops picks up the kill onto Valentine. Jace is going to die. Behemoth picks up that one, and Drops is so low. Behemoth might actually get the double here, but bot lane, there's even more action as Kali dies to Wenwei. Drops, oh my god, more TPs. These junglers have both decided, though, we're going to disengage as 2 for 2 across the map. A lot more action-packed than last time. Oh, Drops is actually, he has his flash forced out as he does not want to let me be in peace. And Drops is going to fall. No, an incredible repel as Behemoth does pick it up. Those fangs, but a 1-for-1 trade yet again. A lot just happened.
And this is just crazy aggression coming out from both of these really early game junglers. But I feel like this does benefit Tempest. They are getting this Rek'Sai rolling. They are kind of, getting this pressure down, which we didn't see last game, where they kind of need to, cement themselves on this early game. They are currently in a gold deficit, although we are even in kills. The CS leads for Murk Nimbus are higher across the board. You have a 10 CS lead for the Jace, a 13 CS lead for the mid laner, and an over 10 or less than 10 CS lead on Ezreal in this bot lane. To give them this gold lead, but they are keeping up the pressure, which is great because they kind of need to against this Elise, and we see that Rek'Sai trying to go in on Victor.
Yeah, Shadowy Figure does have double buff, so he's going to look for something onto Valentine. Just walk on back. Rek'Sai, now that he does have those 2 kills, or she, if you listen to the lore, it is only going to be a blue smite right now. Drops is looking for the turret dive. We know that Elite with Repel is able to juggle turret aggro so effectively. The Cocoon's not going to land. Will it matter? And it just won't. Jace walks out. Kill goes over to Drops. Both junglers are now 2-1. This Poppy is getting abused right now, but Behemoth picks up another kill. That's a 3-0 Rek'Sai. He has the double buffs. Drops doesn't. Although Drops manages to land the Cocoon, he has no mana. But not going to matter as Drops does disengage, but this Rek'Sai gets another kill. These junglers, we were talking about possible mid 2v2s, but the top lane is where all the action has been.
And although these kills are getting traded back and forth, it's still working out for Murk Nimbus because Jace is the one who's still getting CS. This Poppy is under-leveled and under-farmed right now, kind of starving, looking for a chance to get get anywhere, get CS or get kills, because Drops is just adding so much pressure there. Behind, still behind 10 CS, but behind a whole level to this Jace right now. And what we're seeing with these two junglers is that when you have this Elise Rek'Sai matchup, although Rek'Sai's coming back for more of the top lane.
Oh my god. Behemoth is here again, trying to apply pressure to Shadowy Figure, but this time he manages to get out. Furious Doctor is on the Thresh. He somehow snuck up there, lands the hook, but a little bit of chip, just trying to hurt Wenwei just a little bit.
So for these two junglers, what I was going to say before is that when Elise and Rek'Sai meet in the jungle, if Elise lands her cocoon first, Elise is going to win those trades. But before I can even finish the conversation, Rek'Sai is in the mid lane blowing flashes on Victor. But if in these elongated, brought out fights, if Rek'Sai is able to counter gank with these double buffs, as we've seen, Rek'Sai just deals so much damage to this squishy Elise that, depending on how they engage these fights, is really going to depend on which jungler is going to come out on top, because this is a really jungle-focused game right now.
Now, after Victor's flash was forced out by Behemoth, he's looking for the repeat gank. He's going to get the knock-up. Victor is so low, and in comes Pantheon, and that's a kill going... I'm not even going to try and say that name. On to JD. An absolutely great play, abusing the flash that Victor had fallen down as. Pike's actually going to get landed by this hook, and a nice bounce back by Ziggs. This looks like a completely different Tempest roster.
Yeah, and what we saw on that mid lane gank right there, that was a Pantheon and Rek'Sai damage. When Rek'Sai just has jungle item and a longsword, and Pantheon only had his corrupting potion. They did not have items. They had a even level advantage on the Victor, but they are just able to blow him up the second he gets caught without flash. And a beautiful hook coming out from Thresh.
Yeah, some sick plays as Kali is going to go down. This is looking really, really good as Rek'Sai is going to go onto this Ocean Dragon. Very nice dragon to pick up early on into the game, and although the soul is preferable, when you are trying to stick in your lanes and apply as much pressure as possible, that buff is definitely something that's nice to have. Drops is going to look to be trading something as he's hovering around this Rift Herald, but it's not up yet, so he's just kind of walking back and forth. He's going to be caught on this pink ward as Valentine is looking like he's going to be the recipient of another gank. Hits Drops with the ultimate. That's going to delay it at least for a while, but this Jace is managing to zone Poppy off of her entire wave.
And that kill before what we saw in the bot lane is just this really good play coming out from JD on the Pantheon. An ult.
Nice smack into the wall. Valentine's going to get a nice trade into Shadowy. He's going to get knocked backwards. Behemoth is going to... Behemoth's going to pick up an incredible gank here as Jace is going to fall again. This Jace... A lot of action was happening on this top lane. It looked like Shadowy Figure might have a repeat performance from last game where he just absolutely stomps Valentine into the ground. But although she hasn't been picking up that many kills, she is the reason why Behemoth is so strong right now. Level 6 on Rek'Sai as well means these ganks are going to be that much more impactful. Such a stronger ultimate than getting the level on Elise in terms of combat power.
Yeah, when we start to look at the team fights, towards maybe Dragons or Rift Heralds or any objectives, right now the side of Tempest is going to have that ultimate and power spike advantage. They are really heavy early game champions, although they are still in a gold deficit as Pyke goes on to Thresh.
Ooh, that hook actually followed through onto the Pyke. That was a really good play from Wenwei. If that didn't, he may have fallen, but the box and the Super Mega Inferno Bomb, or I think is the name, is going to manage to kind of repel that. But once a Furious Doctor gets level 6, that's going to get pretty scary, because if Wenwei gets poked down just enough by this Ezreal, Furious Doctor is going to be able to walk up, and you see as soon as he gets that level 6, he just starts going in. He's looking for something here, but they know that he's hovering around. This Ziggs Thresh lane, much better faring than last game. It's Valentine managing to actually scare Shadowy Figure away. It's a pretty big fight happening around Rift Herald. Drops is going to have to flash away from Behemoth and off of the Rift Herald. That was a very clean contest, burning the Elise flash, which that flash cocoon is so powerful as an engaged one.
And Elise just, went a little too early there. Now this is going to go Rift Herald to this side of Tempest, and they're just going to, cement their foot on this early game and say, we're taking it. We're going to take all the objectives here. We're going to get those turret plates. We're going to get the Rift Herald, and this Rek'Sai is doing work for Tempest in this early game, and so is this Pantheon. The only problem I have is if this Pantheon can't keep up the pressure that he is putting down now, there's going to be...
Lil Wenwei is going to fall there. Raku Ichigo is trying to get out with some slows. Nice flash. Looking like it's going to let him escape. Furious Doctor might be looking for something as he just keeps following actually here. Going to manage to dodge that Q. He does have ultimate, but the hook's going to miss, and that means he's going to have to walk out. Pantheon is here to support. A Furious Doctor's in a pretty dangerous position, but he's going to manage to get out just fine. This game has had so much action, and unlike last game where it was so one-sided, this time it just feels like a constant back and forth. And with that Rift Herald taken, if you drop that by a Ziggs, it almost guarantees a turret falling.
But they do drop a top lane, and this turret is going to fall with the repeated ganks from Rek'Sai at the top. They are able to get the first turret of the game on top side and keeping Rift Herald alive. Let's see if it gets another charge, but it looks like Drops is here for a counter gank.
Drops hits the Cocoon, and he goes onto the Rek'Sai, and that Rek'Sai is going to fall after the flash. Absolutely tragic for him to lose that. Flash is such an important tool for Rek'Sai to flash knock up. Poppy is in trouble, but Victor and Elise decide to walk back.
And that was just a beautiful repel coming out from Elise to follow up pressure on Poppy and make sure that flash is burnt. Repelling the ultimate there, and just a really good counter gank from Drops, although the turret went down. Murk Nimbus is able to apply pressure and kind of survive this early game. They are still ahead in gold, although they are behind in objectives and kills.
And that's something that's always so important to see. One of the little metrics that I like in LCS is always gold per kill, and not just in that kind of 300 gold way, but what is your gold advantage for each kill you are up? And a lot of LCS teams like Cloud9 will have 1,000, sometimes even 2,000 per kill. But here, it's actually negative. Murk Nimbus have been managing to outfarm, especially on their mid laner and jungles and top. Just that top side of the map has been so good about picking up minion waves and plates that they've just been safe. That hook is going to miss, but Thresh is looking for something. That Cocoon barely missed. Wenwei has to be scared, but Behemoth is here to support, which means V4 is going to threaten. Oh, wait, Poppy's on the flank. Furious Doctor's looking for something. If he lands this hook, she may be in trouble, but it's looking like she's just going to walk out. Now Tempest are around the Dragon Pit. A flash onto Boone. He's going to flash away, but he's in a really dangerous position here. Boone's running away, is going to try and kite left and right, but it's not going to matter as he is going to fall to Behemoth yet again. Poppy's on the backline. Mega Inferno Bomb. So much damage onto Drops, but he's not going to drop Propel. Following onto the Pantheon, and he's busting out the stopwatch. Double kill from Jace, and Furious Doctor's going to miss something. This Poppy and Rek'Sai on the backline. Rek'Sai picks up a kill. Furious Doctor is down as Kali is in so much damage. The Ziggs auto attack picks it up. That's an ace for Tempest Esports.
And I thought that they were going to get caught out there and just get collapsed on because it looked like they overcommitted for Boone, but this Rek'Sai and Poppy combination was just able to destroy the backline of Murk Nimbus, and they just wrecked that fight and picked up the second dragon of the game. This is a completely different Tempest than we saw from Game 1.
Absolutely, and with that, the gold swing is going to go right back to basically even, now in their favor. Ziggs' turret pushing power, and 2 dragons on top of that. Now, Murk Nimbus is going to have to make some hard choices about priority over objectives, especially looking for these Dragon Souls as Furious Doctor, but last game, he was just able to walk away uncontested with all of these roams, but now Wenwei is walking up, he has a hook, and he's looking to fight him every single inch that a Furious Doctor wants to get. Wenwei is going to be there looking for something in return.
Yeah, you have both of these teams that have pick pressure and pick potential, but, Tempest is just jumping to the gun first. Although Drops has been really proactive in the early game, like the first beginning of the game, getting a lot of ganks off on top. A lot of the follow-up pressure has been from Tempest. A lot of these Thresh hooks and flash Thresh flays coming out from Wenwei, and then Pantheon ults left and right from JD, and we see another a potential gank coming out from the top from from Murk Nimbus onto Valentine, but it looks like they're going to back off. But Tempest is able to keep up the pressure that they didn't have last game now that they have a lot of pick potential on their roster.
Absolutely. You can just see the difference, and it might just be or play style from Taric to Thresh. This guy is insane as how Valentine lands the E. Shadowy wall as Shadowy Figure seeming like he's in a lot of trouble until this mana immunity. Might be difficult for him to get anything off. The turret here is gone. Behemoth lands the Q and Frost, which means he's just going to run this guy into the ground. The shutdown goes over to Poppy. This Poppy was so far behind at one point in this game. A Furious Doctor's looking to get something back in the mid lane, and he will. So much gold with that Pike ultimate.
Yeah, and the top lane right there, Shadowy Figure was just way too far ahead, up.
Oh,
Furious
right now he's
Doctor.
looking for Behemoth. He's going to land the hook, but the Cocoon's going to miss. Flash E onto Behemoth, and the ultimate is not through. Pantheon is now here in the Mega Inferno Bomb. That's going to be a trade kill, and Drops is going to fall. 2 for 3 so far. Some great counter engages. Pantheon has so much more map presence and is just able to get onto those squishier members of Murk Nimbus than the Victor. But that's just what we were talking about. The Youmuu's Ghost Blade and that lethality early is so strong. This champion is so powerful in these earlier and mid levels, but you do have to be careful because although we have been singing a lot of praises, oh, that Q almost stole it. Although we've been singing the praises of Tempest this game, how different they look from last time, we need to be careful because the scaling does fall into Murk Nimbus's favor, I believe. That Victor can easily 1v5 some of these fights once he gets going.
And what we were saying before in the top lane when a Shadowy Figure got caught out under, going past the first turret that was down as a Furious Doctor looks for another hook, the gold deficit that Poppy had in the beginning of the game is almost negated now that they've just kept putting pressure on that top side. That Sunfire Cape negates all damage.
Again. Furious Doctor is getting caught out again. Drops running for his life, and Spider out trying to pick up extra movement speed. Great repel, means he's going to manage to get out of there. But the second Rift Herald, I believe, from Tempest, is they're going to look to crack this mid tower. It's not going to get all the damage off, but Behemoth is challenging this. Ziggs is going to early activate his abilities. Drops. Actually, he's probably going to get this return kill, and he does. Behemoth overextended so far. Tempest looking to get a second proc. But Rift Herald is going to fall to that Spider. Boone looking for some damage, but Ichigo barely survives. Valentine helping his team disengage. That ultimate knocking Jace all the way back to the base. The Super Mega Inferno Bomb's going to hit Boone, who's getting dangerously low. Furious Doctor, his ultimate is flashed by JD, but JD's still going to fall in the end. As Tempest, although at the beginning they were having tempo on that play, they were pushing down the turret, a little bit of overextension, a little overextending, as well as a few other very high-risk, high-reward plays ended up coming up tails.
And what Tempest is doing that differs from what Murk Nimbus did in the first game is they're overextending a little too much on these fights. Murk Nimbus had a really good first game where they went in for a lot of high-pressure plays and they just didn't give Tempest a second to breathe. Tempest is trying to repeat that, but they're overcommitting on times where they kind of just need to, take a step back and regroup, and they're letting a lot of picks go to the side of Tempest. Behemoth shouldn't have dropped there under the tier 2 tower for Murk Nimbus, and also JD shouldn't have dropped as well. They were just overstaying in these fights, but they are looking to get dragon control, and this would be the third dragon to challenge Soul Point. Will they be able to get it?
This is such an important dragon just for, if you think about longer term, for Baron pressure even, for Tempest Esports. But it looks like they may just opt to trade this dragon for mid-turret as Murk Nimbus are on it. In comes Behemoth, but he's going to get stunned by this Victor. The dragon is resetting! Oh no! The hook's going to lane, Shadowy Figure is going to fall, and Pantheon is in the fight, and he's looking for anything. Both junglers are on the dragon, but another early smite from Drops, just like last game. Hook lands onto Boone, but he manages to flash the Poppy ultimate. Although that would have just probably sent him away. Nice reactions from him. Furious Doctor is looking for something. Flash Flay from Kali. Winway He's trying to escape, but this Ziggs does so much damage as he's going to pick up a double kill on the back end of the fight. A 4-for-1. And Dragon, that reset was absolutely tragic.
And that was a huge win for the side of Tempest, and it's only a 2,000 gold lead, which might seem like a lot coming off of that play. They are going to get this mid-inner tower, but it seems like Murk Nimbus is still able to, kind of counteract this gold lead with their farm advantage that they have. It almost seemed like in that fight that Callie was going to be able to pick up some, cleanup kills on the backside, but Callie doesn't have the Trinity Force finished yet. If that Trinity Force was finished, maybe those last ticks of damage would have came out to, kill the really low health players for the side of Tempest. But Tempest just win out that fight straight up and, press their advantage. They get the third dragon on that really unlucky reset from Drops. Drops was trying to finish off that dragon, but just stayed a little too long, and Murk Nimbus kind of just got split up there. They over-contested for the dragon after it reset. They thought they could finish off the fight, but Tempest just has the power right now. Murk Nimbus is still waiting for those items, and they're just not able to, win these team fights yet.
Yeah, these fights mainly dictated by when JD decides to walk in, and like I was talking about, this top trade seems to be dictated by that as well. But Shadowy Figure, some fancy footwork under the turret, he's going to pick up that kill. That was stunning.
And that's really good for the side of Murk Nimbus. It's going to, keep them in this game. Picks like that, a Shadowy Figure playing really well on this Jace.
Oh, another hook onto Furious Doctor and a double flame, but a mass Ike ultimate off of the back of Callie, going to mean that this is an even trade across the map. But up on that top side, it is now a 2 versus 3, I believe, as Ezreal does deal more damage, I personally think, than most people like to talk about, but he doesn't deal that much to a Poppy yet. Shadowy Figure, like you were talking about earlier, that Pantheon having side lane pressure, getting killed. Oh, wait a second. Valentine jumps through the slowing field right onto Boone, but is able to get out with the phase rush, so it's a lot less exciting than I initially thought.
Yeah, and Behemoth actually had a really well-timed ult there because he completely negated a lot of damage that was going to come out from Ezreal's True Shot Barrage, and he went right through it, therefore saving his life in that fight. And what you were saying before is, I agree with you. Ezreal, I'm an Ezreal main. I love the champion. I think it's a lot of sneaky damage if you can hit your skill shots, but if your team dies and you're the only one left and you're forced to kite 4 people and you can't really land as much damage as you would like, Ezreal kind of needs a frontline tank that's able to slow down the enemy team and take the damage for him. That way he's able to, pick and choose where he's sending his skill shots and get that damage off. But Murk Nimbus doesn't have a frontline tank. They have Jace, Elise, and Victor, and Pyke. And they're just getting shredded before Ezreal can really deal damage in these fights.
I feel like a lot of these fights are Tempest finding a pick. And that is pretty much the exact opposite of what Murk Nimbus are aiming for here. Seem to want to put Jason a side lane, let somebody out, and try and get pressure so that they can force good fights for them around objectives, because they have some crazy poke. As, actually a little bit of the reverse. A Cocoon lands, but Drops is going to be punished for that. Valentine knocked back. Oh, a flash to avoid the Poppy ultimate. It's looking like Shadowy Figure is going to pick this one up, and he does a shutdown for 700 gold. It's going to be absolutely massive for him. Although he had a pretty good start in the mid-game, beginning of the mid-game, he was starting to look rough, but recently these past 2 solo kills against the solo laners of Tempest have been meaning a lot. So both these teams have been dancing around Baron for so long, and that only really benefits Murk Nimbus right now.
Yeah, and a Shadowy Figure is just, extending his advantage on this Jace. He wasn't able to win these fights early, but that's because he didn't have Mana Immune, or his Mana Immune was still building up, but he just...
is going to get the shutdown onto him now, just as praising him. Sorry to interrupt, but Behemoth with a really nice kill. Jace is so much of the team's damage right now. His poke with Ezreal's and a little bit of Victor's is a lot for prepping for these team fights to try and get them in good situations, but now seems like a 3v5 actually, as Victor is topside. Means that Tempest might be giving over this soul, which which is so dangerous, hoping for an Ezreal steal, but they're not going to get it as they give it over.
This is going to be a really dangerous soul coming out for Tempest, because now they're going to have Pantheon ults and Ziggs ults and Rek'Sai ults on such a short cooldown that they're going to be able to be all over the map on these fights. But as I was saying before about Shadowy Figure, he wasn't able to really win his lane because he didn't have the items early. He, invested in the Manamune, but he's got the Muramana now. It's built up, and he has an almost 100 CS over his opponent laner. It's 99 right now, and Valentine's gonna get some CS, so it's not gonna be the 100 CS gap that we like to see, but it's close, and that's a lot of gold on Shadowy Figure. And if Shadowy Figure's actually in these fights poking, I think Murk Nimbus wins them. They still have a gold lead. Although they've been down in kills, in objectives this entire game, they have maintained a gold lead, or maintained the gold to be even throughout the entire game. It's crazy.
Shadowy Figure looking for JD Rocks. But you know what? Yeah, like you're saying, they can win these, but a lot of it depends on setup. If they get a siege going, Jace, Ezreal, Victor is going to be pretty nice. But in these just traditional team fights, I do feel like, one, it is already going to be a 4v5 or 3v4. Being able to play much more front to back, Tempest is coming out on top. And now that Cloud Soul has been picked up, for the side of Nimbus, or Tempest, this is looking more and more dangerous. Pantheon is in the bot lane matching this Jace again. And although Pantheon has that semi-global ultimate, he's going to have to start roaming quite a bit before Jace if he wants to match his team around these Baron fights.
And Rek'Sai picking up the Guardian's Angel is just going to make his initiations that more deadly, because when they want to try to focus him down before he can get that ultimate off, they're not going to be able to kill him, and they're not going to be able to focus him down. He hasn't been really... I mean, he does have 5 deaths, but in these elongated team fights that we've seen, he hasn't really been the one to die in the team fights. He kind of died earlier or gets caught out afterwards. So this Guardian's Angel is just going to, stop him from getting picked out and getting and going down in these fights. And it's going to be really big, but I still think that Murk Nimbus is in a position where if they group up as 5 and just start to poke out Tempest, they can do a lot of damage and potentially win themselves one of their first team fights. Victor finally finished his death cap. This is going to be a lot of damage if they decide to fight.
Yeah, Victor picking up that item is definitely big, like you're saying. This is a 4v5 on the map. Staying Nimbus, let this play out, the better it is for them. Although Tempest are going to pull the trigger, they're going to start Baron. Jace is on the bottom side, split pushing. Ezreal ultimate going. Dealing quite a bit of poke damage means that Nimbus or Tempest are going to fall back. Nimbus looking to regain control of this point. Really great plays. Jace TP'd in only to, it looks like, just die.
Wow.
He just got burst over the wall.
And he just stepped up way too far. Ziggs able to burst him down completely over the wall. That's crazy, because Shadowy Figure teleported to that fight, and that's the reason Tempest backed off the Baron, but now they're right back on it, and this could be theirs.
Yeah, now Boone throwing his ultimate over the wall, trying to poke out Behemoth. The jungler at that point. It is Smite versus no Smite. Oh, a nice stun onto Behemoth. Both of these teams are playing so dangerously. Pantheon is now with the rest of his team, though. They're trying to hunt down. Kali is in range, but some nice poke and stuns means that it looks like Nimbus are going to manage to just disengage this fight that looked really bad for them in the beginning. They managed to dance around this Baron for so long as just to get that Guardian Angel gone. Vice going to drop an ultimate.
And that little engage right there, or that little fight, works out really well for Murk Nimbus. They're able to poke out Tempest with the Ezreal and the Victor. These two champions that are scaling and dealing a lot of damage now, and actually, get Tempest to go off the Baron. And with a really good play by a Furious Doctor, Pyke ulting Rek'Sai and being able to get out, pops the GA. So Rek'Sai doesn't have the safety in the next fight of the Guardian's Angel, and he's going to get, poked heavily by this Jace, Ezreal, and Victor. The only problem is we have yet to see Jace in a full fight. Jace keeps either, Jace is in a side lane because he had teleport pressure. He was getting solo kills, which was really good for Murk Nimbus. He was able to even out the gold. They got a tier 2 inner turret on the bot side, but the one time Jace comes to join the fight, he gets picked out over the wall and dies.
That teleport. It's going to hurt for a while now. This means that Jace is not going to be able to beside pressure like was before. Pantheon can sit there, challenge him, use that semi-global ultimate to get back to the team really whenever he wants. And you were talking earlier about the Flame Horizon. Oh, Boone has to flash. Behemoth is here. This is a 1v3. Behemoth decides to follow up. He might get something here, but he doesn't. He takes the control ward. He's happy just forcing out the Victor Flash. That's definitely because a champion that doesn't have that much escape, not having flash means that if he does manage to get onto him, that's going to be so dangerous. You're looking at flashes across both teams. Tempest has all 5 of theirs. They only have one sum down. That's the Ziggs TP, and that's not going to do that much in a fight anyway. Whereas 2 flashes down on the side of Murk Nimbus. And they're both on both of their backline carries, which means this could be extremely dangerous. Valentine looking for Jace. Isn't going to land this to get some damage. Jace gets burst. Shut down by drops. That is so huge. But in comes Pantheon. Ezreal is dealing so much damage from the backline. Jace is managing to survive there. Valentine as well gets out, but a nice skill shot test coming out from the Ezreal Flays. Wenway's trying to save his team. Kali's going to clean up that fight, and that is a incredible fight coming out from Murk Nimbus. We were talking about waiting for the point in the game where this team could really step up with their items. Well, Ezreal has his 2 items now, and he is dealing damage.
And that was just a almost game-saving pick by drops, because if Tempest got that Elder Dragon, I think the game's over. And even with Murk Nimbus getting the Elder Dragon, if they get this Baron too, they could end the game really quickly. And Kali getting a nice pick onto JD, but drops getting that pick onto Ziggs before Ziggs can deal any damage to the team or get his ultimate down. 7-1 before that fight, 7-2 now. That was just the key pick of the fight. Because once Ziggs is down, where does the damage come from Tempest? It's 30 minutes into the game. Pantheon's not the same champion he was 10 to 15 minutes ago. And Poppy and Rek'Sai, Rek'Sai's in a similar position. Rek'Sai's not the same champion he was 15 minutes ago. They aren't these scaling champions. So once Ziggs goes down, they just don't have the damage to kill Murk Nimbus. And we saw them just roll over that fight.
I completely agree. That fight was looking like it was going to be really good. Tempest. I was a little bit on the Tempest hype train this game. I thought I saw a lot of good plays that I just didn't even see the attempt of last game. But that Elder fight drops, just coming in, killing the Ziggs, who, like you're saying, is of Tempest's damage. Really turned that fight around. And then he lived to make sure that he could smite the Elder Dragon afterward. Some really big plays from an Elise who we have not seen step up a while this game. A lot of her cocoons missed or just couldn't be followed up upon for 15-20 minutes in this game, other than that first insane scuffle at the beginning of the game. So seeing drops come back is absolutely huge. Side of Nimbus, as this Elder Dragon means so much when you have a Jace, Ezreal, and Victor on your team.
It was almost like Murk Nimbus decided, hey, all right, let's give Tempest the soul. Let's just let them have it. But when Elder Dragon comes up, that's when we're going to play big. But Drops is actually going to get caught out.
As soon as we start talking good about Drops, he is going to drop. As Pantheon did use his ult to get over there. A lot of ults used in that fight, but with low cooldowns, it should be fine. Jason not going to be able to take that turret as Poppy knocks him away. But they're looking for Boone now. He's actually going to Zhonya's, and this could be very dangerous for the side of Nimbus, but Elder Dragon helping them a lot this fight so far. It's a 1-for-1. Shadowy Figure, though, picks up on the back end. GA on Jace. Very powerful. Elder Dragon's going to be wearing off very soon, as it has worn off in this fight, which means that Caddy's going to have to deal all this damage on his own, but he's fine with that. He has his items, and he is pumping out damage. Poppy and Thresh, both very tanky, but you know, Blade of the Rune King and Manamune and Triforce, these items are putting in work for him. He's sitting on his 40% CDR. So they're going to take this inhib after a pretty back-and-forth fight.
Shadowy Figure coming out of Zhonya's right there to finish off Ziggs was huge for that fight, because it allowed Pyke and Ezreal to follow up and, you know, try to deal damage on Poppy and Thresh and, you know, effectively push them back into Fountain, and then take that middle inhibitor, which opens up the base for Murk Nimbus. I don't think Murk Nimbus can lose another fight unless Tempest gets a really nice pick. Just the straight up 5v5 damage for the side of Murk Nimbus now. They were just allowed to scale throughout this game, and now we have 35 minutes, and Tempest has Pantheon, Rek'Sai, and Ziggs, and if Ziggs goes down, like he has been in these team fights, although he's been playing great all game, they're just not going to have the damage.
The one thing Murk Nimbus needs to be careful about is playing cocky, although pushing your advantage is something that this team is so good at sometimes. A Furious Doctor or Boone will just walk out of position, but they are a team right now, as that hook is not going to deliver Rek'Sai over the wall.
And that was just a really interesting situation right there, because Pyke had the red trinket up, so he knows that Rek'Sai's over the wall because he can see him, but Rek'Sai doesn't know that because Pyke's in the bush. But Rek'Sai can see Pyke because of his tremor sense over the wall. So it was this really awkward stalemate where both champions knew they were over the wall from each other, but they couldn't really do anything about it. And then the second one moves, they kind of just
looking here on Shadowy Figure, but Shadowy Figure is level 18.
Wow.
Going to take down JD, although having that extended E. However, that shutdown, that's going to be pretty big for Tempest. This Jace has been such a big side lane pressure that if they're looking for a fight, it's looking like they might want to look for it now. They want Pantheon. The way you get back in this game is you find pick on a more staggered Murk Nimbus, or like that on a side lane Jace. You try and find, a 1-for-0 that then leads you into being able to get some kind of objective control or fight at the Elder Dragon pit. Although that 1-for-1 was really, really rough. I can't think of another word really for it. Because when you're looking for those picks, 2v1s, you don't want Shadowy Figure to manage to come out of that with a 1-for-1. As Furious Doctor is almost going to get caught out there, but nice dodges. This guy plays so far up, and if he doesn't get punished for it, he's able to just land hook after hook and look for play after play.
Yeah, and that 1-for-1 really saved Murk Nimbus on the side of not allowing Tempest to get pressure on a 5v4 advantage. Basically, they're going to be able to reset after this and try to go for Elder Dragon again. I'm surprised they had Elder Dragon and Baron and weren't really able to break open the base because we kept seeing them get picked out. They're going to have to contest this fight again, and Tempest is going to need to get a really good engage to win them a fight at this Elder Dragon. They can't let them get it again.
Wei is getting poked out. Already half health, Shadow Figure. But you've got to be careful here. Might get poked out. Valentine and Behemoth are together, but Behemoth's going to get chunked out so much, although the GA is up.
Wow, True
Ezreal's
Shot
going to
Barrage.
pop it, so this could be very, very bad for Tempest. Jace is going into the back line. JD is trying to do something, but Callie manages to survive through it, but the Super Mega Inferno Bomb is going to get damaged. Pyke's going to miss the ultimate. They're just barely too high health. Victor's looking for something as well, but right now, Pyke is going to get taken down by the Ziggs. Drops, Jace, and Boone. All looking for something here. Drops is going to get the repel and the Q. That bite is going to finish off Raku Ichigo as the ace comes through from Murk Nimbus, and that's looking like GG.
The Shadowy Figure teleported to the turrets during that fight, and they're just going to end it.
Yeah, a much better performance coming out game 2. Tempest, we saw a lot more, especially in the early game. They were able to push their advantages for more and more getting soul, but it was that Elder Dragon fight that really turned the game around from Murk's favor.
Yeah, and we did see a completely different Tempest this game, where they played to their advantages early game, and they had a really good early game, but they just weren't able to...
Yeah, absolutely. Although they were definitely able to get some of those early... You're talking about the Rift Herald. Ziggs was doing so much damage to these turrets. They were able to get pressure pretty much all over the map because of it, but they weren't able to push for the finish fast enough. It hit 35 minutes, and the later, I'll say, scaling, Murk were definitely able to pull that game out. And although Victor didn't do as much in those fights as we were initially expecting, that was perfectly fine because he did what he needed to do, and so did his team. Ezreal popping off in that game too, especially in those later fights, dealing so much damage. And being able to play so far forward, knowing he has the Arcane Shift and the Flash, to be able to, if he does get in trouble, being able to play much safer.
Yeah, and Murk Nimbus just kind of scaled there and kind of just won the game that way. They were able to get the items on Victor and get the items on Ezreal and, just run away with it. Their CS leads throughout the game were huge in keeping that gold lead even and securing them a 2-0 win. And I think we're going to get ourselves a post-game interview coming up soon. We're just going to need to see who we're going to interview. Before we get into that, Lecce, what were your main things that you saw from Tempest that, had them cement a really good early game in the beginning, and what did they kind of do wrong that fell apart?
Well, Merc seemed like game one, they really know how to push when they have an advantage in a more traditional sense. When all their lanes are ahead, they know how to just end the game, and that's a really good skill to have. But the beginning of this game was not traditional in any way, and I think that Tempest were able to come out on top early on because of that. That crazy top lane fights that, although Jace got ahead, Poppy was kind of able to hold on, and Rek'Sai was getting so many of those kills that she was able to move around the map and impact the other lanes, as well as Ziggs just being able to kind of sit back, farm, and deal some poke damage until he got his Luden's Echo meant so much for this team. So I think that it was really through that kind of trifecta of Ziggs turret pressure, Rek'Sai map pressure, but also the Thresh hooks. I think that guy was everywhere. Whereas last game, the Taric, a more passive champion, we'll say, than Thresh, meant that he had to play a lot more back, especially when they were from a disadvantageous position. So when he was behind, they weren't able to look for these picks. They weren't able to look for these bigger plays. But now, when a Furious Doctor was looking for something, instead of having to respect that and back off, he just hook him and, saying, dude, like, I can now step up against you. I can now fight you for every inch that you're trying to get. And I think that it meant so much more. So I don't know if this means if Tempest are out of playoffs, but I do think if they clean up a few more things in their draft, if they clean up a few more things in their game plan going into these games, I think that their players definitely can shine, because we saw they almost took a game off of who were looking like the strongest team, or one of the strongest teams in this. I can't say strongest because bias. Um, One of the stronger teams definitely in this tournament, 4-0 now after this 2-0. So I think if Storm can clean up, or Tempest can clean up some of their, early game aggression and game plans, they can definitely come out and on top in a lot of these.
Yeah, and it looks like we are going to get an interview from either Drops or Shadowy Figure. Just trying to figure that out now. Gonna message and get them into here right now. 1 second, but
Yeah, and as we were talking about, as good as Storm are able to use their early pressure, getting Soul normally is, oh, well, they have Soul. It's pretty over. But Cloud Dragon doesn't have that much combat potential in those fights compared to something like an Infernal or Ocean. So that was just kind of unlucky RNG. And although that ultimate cooldown was definitely nice, they weren't able to do too much with the Soul in the fights like they wanted to. And that meant that, I think if Tempest had Infernal or Ocean or even Mountain, they might have won that Elder Dragon fight. Definitely if they had Ocean or Infernal. But that wasn't the case, which meant that when Murk were able to get that, they suddenly had so much more power, especially with their poke comp. Having Elder is so strong because you're just able to burn down the enemy even more than you were before and get so much more damage. And, of course, that executes so strong, especially when you have like Ezreal and some Ludens. So, yeah, I think that Murk were able to weather out the storm like you were talking about and come back on the Elder Dragon fight. And I do think that that was some either really good decision making or really lucky decision making. Either way, we'll have to figure out, as it does sound like our interviewees are in the call.
All right, so we got both Drops and Shadowy Figure from Murk Nimbus now. All right, so first of all, who was trying to dodge the interview here? Because someone was trying to chicken out of this.
Definitely Drops.
Definitely Adam.
But first of all, that was a great performance for both games from you guys. A little cocky we saw at some points, but how did you guys in game two manage to keep composure and come out with the win?
We knew that our comp scaled way better, so we just waited for the late game. We gave up Soul. It wasn't that important. Elder was the real objective we were waiting for. I got 150 CS lead at one point on the Poppy. I think I was like 2-3 levels up. And as soon as we hit our spikes, we knew we could fight. We were definitely trying something new with the Jace. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
We respect every team like they are SKT.
Although you say it, you seem like it seemed like it didn't work out for that Jace pick. It almost kind of did, because although you did die, a lot in that game, but you were able to, have that side lane pressure that they weren't really able to contest once you got that Muramana and got those items in.
Yeah, definitely was a good side lane pressure, but at the same time, had that Poppy kept up in CS, if their lane allocations were better, if their macro was better, I don't think we should have had the chances we did to get back in the game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that.
I want to ask you guys some questions about game one, because that was definitely a more
Sure.
decisive fight or game than game two was, which was a lot more back and forth. Drops, when you were on that Zac pick, it felt like you were just kind of in the enemy team, and then you could just walk out. Did you feel like you were the reason why your team was able to get so much pressure early on in that game? Or...
Of course, it was all me. It's always jungle diff. If it's jungle diff when I'm losing, it's jungle diff when we're winning.
Very, very well put for that game.
But yeah, I mean, they didn't have any mobility, so it was pretty easy for me to just go in. And because all my lanes won, they don't have any damage, and I'm a tank. Felt pretty free because of my team.
Aww.
Except for Adam.
Oh.
Yikes. That's toxic.
No, in game two, with those a lot of skirmishes coming out from, we saw a lot very focused on the top side. Was that planned that you were trying to get Jace snowballed into that lane, or were you just you saw that Poppy was pushed up and you were like, all right, let's just continuously dive Poppy under turret?
It was a bit of both. That was our initial plans, to try and get me ahead early. Well, they didn't exactly work out because a lot of the kills went on the Elise and the kills went on the Rek'Sai. But after we slowed it down, we were able to scale a lot better. And I think that was the better plan, was to, instead of going for an early snowball, just have a constant snowball.
Yeah, and it seemed like you guys had that constant snowball, and once you hit those like item fights, once you guys couldn't lose a fight 5v5. And what were I guess what were the differences from game one and game two? Was it just the earlier composition coming out from Tempest that allowed them to not necessarily have a early game advantage, because they didn't have a gold advantage on you guys almost nearly throughout that entire game, but they did have an objective lead and kill lead in game two?
I would say the main reason they got ahead in game two was just off of draft. We were trying something new. We wanted to try like a more poke comp with Ezreal and Jace, whereas game one we just drafted a fight comp. Wukong always ready to go in, always ready to engage. Whereas this comp, we have to wait for the right time to engage, which is a lot harder to execute. And it was definitely something we were new to trying. So we failed the execution a lot.
It was rough.
All right, Leche, do you have any more questions for them?
I don't. Do you guys have anything you want to show?
I would love to. Please join our partners over at Dragonline. Their app is dedicated to providing a supportive environment for gamers.
Oh my god.
They want to be the resource. They want to be the resource teams and individuals can count on for LAN events, online events, and to find esports-focused universities.
Once again, that is Dragonline. Thank you very much for supporting us.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for the post-game interview, and I think you guys have almost secured a playoff spot. I think that happened this week, right? I would imagine.
We're 4-0.
You're 4-0, so I'd imagine there's no chance that you guys, even if you guys go 0-3, I think, was it? 0-2 or 0-3 or however many games you guys have left. I think you guys have pretty much secured the playoff spot, so congratulations to you guys, and thanks for chatting, and looking forward to see you guys, compete more and test out more things.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right, guys. With that being it, thank you all for watching. This will wrap up our first streamed game of this weekend. Murk Nimbus versus Tempest. A nice clean 2-0 for Murk Nimbus. Leche, do you have any closing thoughts or anything you'd like to plug before we head out?
Follow Sugar Free on Twitch. Make sure to drop by Fridays at 8 p.m. EST. That's my show.
All right. If always, my name's Flip. You can catch me on Twitch at HGFlip. I've been streaming a lot of Valorant. If you want to catch me after this, you can follow me on Twitter at HGFlip as well. You can follow Leche at LecheLorn at Twitter. And that's pretty much it. Looking forward to see you guys tomorrow for some more Sugar Free League. We'll see you guys.